development and leadership, executive to Dr. Sormel, Dr. Usually, Dr. Sormel, assistant professor here in education, educational I would just like to thank all of the co-sponsors of this event. It has happened. It's the academic studies, the educational community, that I know. Oh, well, we are not even. So it is an honor, a privilege, something that the moment this was brought to my attention, I had no other answer than yes. It is again a privilege to welcome you all today to this important event at the University of New York City College. During Hispanic Heritage Month, it is also Latine, Latinx, Latino, and those are also concepts and terminologies that we too are so a lot of. On this month, in part of shape Hispanic and Latin. As we celebrate the contributions of the Latin community, we're also want to delve deeper into mostly those that have been overlooked for various reasons, primarily curricula that is based on white supremacy. The histories of Black rebellion and resistance within our Afro-Latino American communities and beyond. Today, we are incredibly fortunate to have a distinguished scholar whose work illuminates these critical, often erased narratives, Margarita Rosa. She is a renowned academic whose research in Afro-Latino American archives focuses on the recovery and preservation of Black roots, stories that have been silenced for far too long, and her work challenges the dominant historical narrative and brings light to the resilience of Afro-descendant peoples throughout Latin America. One of the beauties of having her here too is that she's not just an academic scholar, she's an activist, and you can find her on several social media platforms doing that thing. We celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month. It's vital that we recognize the intersectionalities of our identities. We're not a monolith. The experience of the Afro-Latino Americans are deeply intertwined with struggles of freedom, justice, and equality. The recovery of Black rebellion roots from Afro-Latino American archives not only preserve these essential stories, but also empower future generations to understand the complexities of her heritage and identity. Rosa's work embodies the importance of this recovery, reminding understanding the past is crucial to shaping a more inclusive and equitable future. As we listen to her insights today, we are reminded that the archives are not just repositories of history, but are an active space of memory and resistance. Please join me in welcoming this amazing person, Dr. Margarita Rosa, as she guides this critical conversation.
Hi. Good morning, good afternoon, good afternoon. Thank you so much for everyone who set up this space, everyone who cleaned this space, everyone who made their way. I am so humbled to be here with Dr. Yana. It is incredibly powerful to see this work come to light. This work that we were not meant to find. These papers that were buried in archives, untranscribed for centuries, literally centuries. And now we have access to them. Now other scholars have paved the way for us to actually be able to document them. The capital H historian, all of us. So the methods that we're going to take you through today are going to help you come out of this space with the confidence and the skills to do archival research. So something I'm going to ask all of y'all here is if you have a laptop, please take it out. If you have a phone, please take it out. And if you cannot see me, or you cannot see Dr. Yanal, or you cannot see the screen, then I ask you to cover that. And one of the reasons why I call it the Black archive is that even though the instructors wrote these documents down, were not trying to document the survival of Black folks, we still claim it as the Black archive, right? So we're going to recover some of the folks within it. So let's break down today. We're going to take a few minutes to break down. Um, so this document is from 1575. It is being written in Seville, Spain. And the context is that this woman, who at this point is in her late 20s, she was born in the city of San Juan, Spain, her mistress and her master, and upon her mistress's death, she is given manumission. So there she is, a pretty Black woman in Spain. And what does she do? She's, I want to get a So I want us to think about this archive and ask ourselves questions about um, Black. But most of you could probably tell that you cannot tell what is to the trend que yo soy natural de la ciudad. So the first thing how does that impact? That's right. Is perfect. So to see the word to see that as to see in 15 seconds, she is identifying this to give Santo. And we might ask ourselves, why would she do that? Isn't the island, like, isn't Santo Domingo controlled by citizens? Well, as we see, was it necessary? Better pieces. But she doesn't actually want to. So first, let's get on this idea of yes, that's a good idea. Absolutely. Sarah, that is exactly what agency over her movement. She has possession over her movement, and she has decided she couldn't just look around and say, "Oh, now I'm free, so I'm gonna stay right here," or "Now I'm free." Santo Domingo is all across the Atlantic Ocean. She actually made the decision to bring her case up to court and ask for a trial petition. That's almost unheard of. It was her first trial. It was her free, but now emancipated the Black woman to decide to travel back to the Americas. So she said, "Ahora me quiero volver." And she said, "I want to go to Peru." And it's important for us to know that at this point, Peru has just recently been Peru is the land where everybody in Spain is saying, "Go there if you want to make money. Go there if you want to be rich." So she decided to go to Peru. And we don't like why. But the archives don't tell us why for us to serve, for us to brainstorm. So why would she want to go to Peru? We because she wants to go home, but she also wants to go where the Spaniards are saying is the new land, right? Whether this is true or not, she wants to, she has that agency to say, "I want to go exactly here." That's audacious. That's what you call audacity. And so she does end up going to Peru. And she said that part of the reason why she was going there, she said, "Love reason." She said, "Soy, soy, and begins over there, soltera." Because, and this was freedom of, freedom of possession. She is saying, "I am free, I am single, and I'm free from captivity." Identity. She wants to be a woman of, whether that in particular has merit or not. We know that her agency to want to do this is spectacular. But interestingly, she actually ends up going to Peru. She gets a trouble in this port state and she leaves right away. So there's a ship where her name on it. And she goes to Peru. We know that she has a child, but she doesn't have a child in Peru. She ends up having a child in Santo Domingo. She takes that child with her to Spain in 1580, 5 years later. So that's where we see her in the archive again. So if she went with her child to Spain, then that means that she crossed the Atlantic again. She's crossing the Atlantic to get freedom papers for her child. Can somebody tell me why would she want for me freedom papers for her child?
Being black, that the child would be subjected to a lot of pain of being black and male. And I think as a parent and as a mother, she feels her.
Exactly. She knew that she kept trying that she clearly was with this child, that this child being as an enslaved child or as a fugitive child. And no paper could prove that this child was free, right? So she keep, but she tried again also telling us that she knew where the power was. She knew that she was safe. An audacious woman. But there is no travel petition for her from Peru to Santo Domingo, meaning that she fled Peru and went to Santo Domingo. Not a petition. Which is probably why she needed those freedom papers, because she wasn't supposed to end up in Santo Domingo anyway. When she asked for the second travel petition, this time she goes to Santo Domingo. Right? So we get a sense that perhaps she landed in Peru and it wasn't as rosy as she thought. She realized she was actually one of the colonized, but not one of the colonizers. And she went to Santo Domingo, had a child, and went back across the Atlantic. This makes Maria de Cota the first Black woman to go twice across the Atlantic and once to the Pacific. This is an incredible archive. So let's go ahead. So now let's see again. Let's keep it fully. There's this assumption when we look at the field of history, capital H history, that there's a historian, and that a historian is unbiased, that history is a science. The historian is an unracialized, ungendered person who clearly tells you what the author says. And I want to let you know that there's no such thing. There's no such thing as the deracialized, ungendered historian. So I want you to walk into the archive with your body, to read the archive live, which is what the page. So let's go ahead, and now that we have all the read this archive. So
in unison, I also couldn't help but think about the space and place that I was taken to as I was reading these slides. And for me, knowing that this is the first Black woman that crossed the Atlantic twice and the Pacific once, how many others did she take with her? Right? We know the Sojourner Truths, we know the Harriet Tubmans, but why don't we know about Maria de Cota? What is it about the curriculum in our P to 12 that makes it so difficult for us to add this? Why couldn't she be part of our stories? And why is it so black and white? Black or white? Why don't we have these narratives? B, the first Black Republic. This is what we have, right? So let's start thinking about, and as we continue this very hands-on and skillful fireside chat, my question for you is, how do we continue to consider these experiences of the other Maria Recotas that we do not know about?
Oof, we're gonna get to that. I love that question. The unnamed, the unnamed. So we'll get to that as well. Just that we invite you to. When you read this document, what comes up for you? What comes up for you? Right? She got on a ship from the Americas to Spain and then back from Spain to the Americas. She could have been deleted that. Many people were, and free people were. That's right. That you said that because we're gonna have these two lines for our whole conversation today, like, oh, that could be today. Especially as we're talking about Haiti, right? As we're talking about the island of Haiti.
I
You know, sometimes we tend to go back to claim what's really ours because it was taken away from us, right? So when we go back, we have other journeys that we had to revisit, and those journeys are not necessarily physical, they're more internal.
Great. Any other observations as we move from this archive about Maria Victoria? Yes, please. I deserve my freedom, I deserve my child. And her court cases are long. They're like a month long each, and she has several witnesses, she has several friends go up. I couldn't show you all the stages for her friends who work the stage with her. Okay. And beautiful I have known her since she was born. I knew her parents. And so she has a whole picture, and which goes back to the point that none of these women are existing alone. They're a group of women, and she probably was one of the most audacious out of the group to do this work. But there are other women behind her supporting her. There are other women in the archive. In fact, we're going to look at some records coming up that will have words like negros, marrones, esclavos. I'll translate to that the blacks, the maroons, the slaves. All of those sound like a male plural. But the Dominican historian Celsa Albert Batista tells us that when we read the archive and we see that gender neutral plural, that includes women. When we read slaves, that includes women. When we read black people, that includes women. When we read maroons, that includes women. Because there is no such thing as a maroon. There is no such thing as a group of people. So cover these unnamed women in the archives. We read them into the archive. So this is the part I really want to take them to. And these are maps of the islands of Haiti. And some of you may notice that I call it Haiti. That's because it's one of the final names for the islands. In the islands as a whole, there were various languages spoken, and some people but when the state of Haiti in 1804 chose to name the island, they chose to rename it after its original name, Haiti, such as Cuba is the original name. So if the West of the island chose to retake our national name, then as a political gesture of unity of history and and in fact, a lot of people don't know this, but when the Dominican Republic first claimed independence from Spain, what did they call their country? What was the first name for the Dominican Republic? I know none of y'all are gonna know this. It was el Estado Independiente del Haití, the independent state of Spanish. So you're telling me Dominican Islands classification? Spanish Haiti, not just the history post 1844 that is so bad. So on the Haiti, we have a map that shows some of the same cities that are still there today. And see that actually, the most of the land was controlled by Maroons. So these little uh, so that we're all of this knowledge base. Can someone describe to me what a Maroon is? Yes, it's a color of anyone heard interesting? Yes. And so Maroons refers to a person engaged from slavery, a person self-liberated. But and the word is Kimara. Kimara, act. So an act, so the Spanish returns to Maroon. So when we say hey, escape from how did the black folks end up on this island early on? Talking about the Native Americans also 300 years after. This is the 1500s. This is always fun. In 1452, Christopher Columbus sailed where? The ocean blue, exactly. To the Americas. We should. And this is one of the first yes, kill indigenous people, yes, disrupt their agricultural system. So what? Like, so how did the black folks end up here? Yeah, and these swaths of skin are what? All I heard stops right there. We don't learn that the Spanish were scared for their lives. The Spanish thought that they were going to lose the colony to the people that emancipated people, but also the indigenous people, who taught them how to go up those mountains, who taught them how to perform this act of cooking known as barbacoa. What is barbacoa today? Look at the sound cue. Taino word. So taught the how to get these black indigenous. So one big assumption that is that nations don't know what is about.
So as we continue again to think about the ways in which the maroon history, and again, what's missing in our curriculum, as Miss Lauren Hill said, the miseducation, but it's missed. Think about also the way we draw parallels between early rebellion and maroon movements. To see these black dots be the ones that are scattered around and to know that the Spaniards were the ones that were afraid. I wonder, how does this specific event fit into the broader history of our Black history and resistance?
Absolutely. As we know, this island becomes the first Black Republic. And a lot of people don't realize, but the Haitian Constitution applies to the whole island, not just for the West. And so when Toussaint Louverture wrote the first Saint-Domingue Constitution in 1801, he said that it extended from the Cap to Samana. Does anybody know where Samana is? Yeah. Where? All the way on the east, right? Whew. So maybe Toussaint Louverture. So Toussaint Louverture, 1801, and Haiti was created, also created under the land of Haiti in 1804. It was only in 1809 that the Spaniards retook the east of the island and enacted this period called La España Boba, which was a period in which Spain was giving no resources at all to the east of the island, no economic resources, no infrastructure resources, and ultimately the Dominicans claimed independence, calling themselves Spanish Haiti. So this history of is also a reflection of the continuous history of rebellion on the island, which can also be seen on islands such as Jamaica, which can also be seen the islands that had a foundation of so let's see a document from, I think the top, but I think the document is from 1547. I think it's from 1547. Let's go ahead and read it. Original description. So it's about, this is a letter that the Spanish prince is receiving, talking about the number of maroons and the fear that the Spaniards have of these. So it's oh, there are many so much quantity of citizens of that area. Wow. is such a large number that the Spaniards do not dare, but to go, they can only go out in groups of 4, and they sleep in groups of 8 for fear of the Black Lagoon. What does this tell us about this history, this early dynamic between the Spaniards? What are the Spaniards feeling? You know, exactly. So you need to tell them that the same slaves that they were now raising rebellion against them in just 40 years? There's a song from 1503 in which the Spaniards please not send more Black people because those who have been here have run away. The Spaniards had no control over the island. It was actually the Maroons of the island. There's another document which says that the Maroons are building cattle ranches, like communities, and so the Spaniards had to had to pass laws that said that ranches had to be built far away from each other because they were scared of the African self-emancipated folks building actual villages. And this one, I let in a very beautiful line. It's that, okay, okay, yeah, this is here now. There are so many of the set of different blacks that in certain lagoons that are on the coast of Samaná, in the northern part, the slope of current facing the sea, they have their molinos and houses very well put. The history of slavery that we have here, slavery only began in the late 1700s and the 1800s. No, slavery rebellion began right away. And they found themselves here. And they, and this is it. We're now going 300 years in the future. 1800, they're also going to the island of Cuba, which is the Taino island. And we have which was a result of a rebellion that occurred in 1843. And this document is talking about 2 African-born women. One of them was 24 years old, and her name was Fermina. And she led the slave rebellion. And she came from the mountains, and she stepped on the plantation for the plans for the slave rebellion. And she said she came to the plantation and she looked at a group of rebels and she said to them words that are very poignant. She said to them, she, she said, well, blanco look, so she wrote about the overseer. She said to them, take that fat white man and chop him up with a machete. Because he's the one that you were changed. Then, because here, that is much as that's kind of it sounds to me like a book. But this is what is landing in the story that powerful. She was a 24-year-old woman. She left. So yeah, woman to say, right? She's saying not just because they were taking their womanly place and all that, but because it was their duty as rebels to sustain. And then we're also going to get a little bit into the oral history. So this is from the famous film by Julie Dash, which features an oral history that her grandmother said to her. And this oral history that her grandmother said to her is about the Africans who came on ships and what did they do after they landed. Now, the ideology, the spiritual cosmology that is referenced here is also very similar to beliefs in Candomblé and Santeria, that the Orishas traveled across the Atlantic with the enslaved Africans, and that they saw everything that was occurring, and that we, in an essence, exist on a temporal axis where they saw all these things occur already. So let's go ahead and let's just sit with this oral history that she's saying. We can start from the beginning if you want. Wonderful. So this beautiful theme from and I want to, for the next 5 minutes or so, show you how to find these archives.
So while Dr. Rosa goes into this part of the presentation, one of the things that we have spoken about before having today's session is thinking about the narratives of what we've learned today, Maria de Cota, the Maroons, as well as Fermina's story, and how, because we only have scribes telling these stories, think about the Macmillans of the publishing companies and who's actually publishing what. How do we then start preserving these stories that, again, are including us, written by us, but not given to everyone else?
Perfect. So thank you so much. I'm going to show two pages. So if you go to AGN, you can find archive in the world. So any archive in the world is value look for. They might either have reproductions that let you see them on the spot, or they might have a number that you can write down and you can reference. In the case of Paris, 90% of them are online, which is fantastic. Which is why I'm showing you this. So I'm going to go to that one diagram, the Black enslaved woman, to see what I get. So it turns out when I look up Black enslaved woman, I get 245 results. Let's see what this one is about. It seems two alike from Savannah, and it includes two Black enslaved women, Mariana de los Santos and Mariana. Black slave of this man named so it's also, and if we actually go here and look at it, and let's say you're $50 and pay them something like $5. Okay, this is about the us that the east side of the island was still keeping slavery after the Haitian Revolution. Slavery was abolished in the east of the island, but the island was unified under here. And from 1792, election other places is going to be called the island. Statement that I want to talk about research, define an archival search engine, that search engine.
So with this last moment that we have with Dr. Margarita Rosa, and there's so much information that has been given, are there any amazing questions from you all?
Yes. That was. Yeah, I was studying history and I realized that most of my professors were white professors. Most of my colleagues were white Latin American students. And I was like, the history that we're looking at doesn't feel like the history of my island. It feels like something is missing. So I started looking at these records because I was feeling like there was something being silent. And then I found this world. And after that, I found that there were other scholars. So at first it was, that kind of curiosity after you learn how to do archival research, which I know that all of you will learn how to do archival research. You'll find your own thing that you're, deeply curious about and that you'll keep looking at.
So part of my work here as a professor, I had the privilege and honor of taking students from the School of Education to Haiti and the Dominican Republic to assess, reassess, and re-navigate how we're teaching our stories. The simple answer is no. We have very nationalist versions of what we understand to be the history, but this is also part of what Dr. Rosa is saying has kind of been subdued and kept behind the archives.
Yeah, for example, something that is kept from the archive is that after the Haitian Revolution, in the years right after the Haitian Revolution, the Haitian economy went back to being the strongest in the Caribbean. And it only went down after the Spaniards, after the French, took that huge bill that they would have been billions and billions of another loan from the World Bank. So at this time, Haiti was the largest economy in the Caribbean, possibly almost as large as the United States. And we also think about this when we say, oh, well, Haiti is influenced, Haiti doesn't have a proper government. Haiti has been continuously, systematically, part of its in the early 1700s, Haiti was supplying sugar to the world. Yes, Haiti is in complete, Haiti is in a situation today that is absolutely not ideal in being the poorest country in the Caribbean. But I think that us Dominicans, when we deny that shared history, we're also denying that shared possibility, that shared potential.
Kind of all,
And they're mostly non-digitized, which is the one that we know why there to see the archive, which was just pre-2018, like this edition of it. So what you do is I would like to your paper, you write down all the reference numbers that interest you. So each of these documents have like a barcode. You write all of these barcodes down, they're called reference. And you get a grant from one of the departments here to go to the archive. You get your nice $500 grant, you buy your flight, you have a letter saying you're going to the archives. You can go into any archives, you can just walk into them. In some countries like Cuba, you need a letter stating why you're there. But you could just walk in and you could say, these are the documents I want to look at, and they'll give you them free at a time. That's how you do it, it's free. All you gotta get is one of the departments on campus's paper.
Okay, due to time, I just want to thank you so much. You have been an incredible addition to our Queens College family, and we hope and look forward to having you back. Thank you.